Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Marx. I'm very happy that I'm able to speak to you today on this very, very engaging, interesting topic which concerns all of us. Dear academics, scholars, researchers, students, friends. Since yesterday we have been giving different views on this theme of nation, nationhood, and nationalism. But what has been spoken about? And it is therefore I really need to modify a lot from my argument and delete a lot of things for the fear of repeating certain things. Speakers and scholars before me, the useless persons before me have been very clear as to what is the nation and how it exists in our imagination and also in practice. We have been given to understand certain notions about nation, nationhood, nationalism from academic syllabus. The books which are prescribed by certain formal bodies, and we are made to discuss them in the classroom. While doing so, the other side of the story gets sidelined. Number one. Number two, sometimes the academics doesn't train us to think critically enough to also apply our mind and interrogate the other side of the story. And it is therefore seminars and conferences like these are extremely important, I feel. And I'm sure this seminar particularly is doing the same thing. There could be a lot of things which we know and we believe them to be true.
Excuse me, Dr. Rajesh. I have one announcement to make. All the technical sessions will be held only in this hall after this lecture. Okay. So no one has to move out from this hall to the halls earlier allotted to you. I repeat, technical sessions will be held only in this lecture.
Thank you, sir. So the other thing, the other side, and in the process of learning these things in academics in the classroom, we develop a kind of faith that whatever I have learned in the classroom is the only reality, and there is no reality beyond this. And therefore, when scholars and academics would come here and talk to you of the other side, sometimes it becomes a little shocking. Because we feel the speakers are biased then, but then there are always two sides, and the other side is now presented by several scholars who spoke. What is expected in academics and research is that we need to be impartial, going beyond biases. But even when we expect this, there is certain bias which is formed in the process of learning in the classroom. And then, in society when we move, society gives us a particular kind of narrative. Politics gives you another kind of narrative. And depending on the convenience, we choose and adhere to certain narratives beyond which we do not want to think, we don't want to listen to. But we feel we should overcome what is called cognitive bias. Usually in society like ours, what happens is we repetitively want to think and listen to what we like. What we do not like, we do not want to listen to that. Look at music, same thing happens. What's cognitive bias? It is, if you like a particular song, you would like to repetitively listen to that song. And if you do not like something, you want to disassociate with those kinds of things. While getting friendship, same thing is happening. If I belong to a particular class, particular caste, particular ideology, I have friends from those locations who will speak what I like. And we will only discuss those things and nothing beyond that. So in the classroom also, suppose I am a Brahmin, I will have those friends who will speak what I like. Other people form a different group with which I want to associate with all the time. But are we going to really overcome this bias or not? That's the question. And I think by such critical engagement, we would surely rise beyond these things. Now, when we talk about nationhood, nationalism, there are different narratives of nationalism. There are different narratives of being a nation. And we selectively choose them and we tend to adhere to those ideas. Now, when in India we talk about nation, we know that apart from a mainstream, there is a voice on the margin which we do not listen to very much. And therefore, when I today's deliberations, you see, they have spoken about the marginal voices and their own notions of nation, nationhood, and nationalism. And I really appreciate it. In India, we know, even before the Britishers arrived in India, we are aware that the British people arrived, they spread the network of communication, and then we started getting to understand what the nation would be like. Before 1947, we did not have a very, very clear idea of India being a nation, because for the lack of communication, and there were different linguistic groups, different linguistic regions, and then you ask me, what was then India before 1947? Some scholars say that it was a huge patch of land ruled by kings, queens, princes, and all of them fighting among each other. Britishers, to a great extent, solidified and communicated and connected those things and brought them under a common control, which gave an advantage during freedom struggle that we won freedom as a country, as a nation. They started talking about it. But what was their idea of nation? What was their idea of nation? They wanted freedom to a particular group of people. Who were those who were enslaved by the British? The Dalits, the women, or the dominant caste or class in this country. It is therefore we reach a very, very popular group to which reference was made in the previous lectures, Gandhi and Ambedkar. What did they want? And therefore, when Gandhi and Ambedkar used to meet, they used to have this kind of debate. Because Dalits were enslaved by the brown side, and the brown side was enslaved by the white masters. If this was the kind of scenario, then who was in urgent need of that freedom? That was the question, which you have to understand. But even then, there is a all-level organization which claims, and we all understand, that Ram Madhav, who belonged to RSS, he explains this notion and he said that even if you people argue that nation is a very recent concept, we in India had this concept in the name of Rashtra. And I quote him. We have to understand and take their views also in consideration, which are very, very important. Ram Madhav says that the Rashtriya concept of Rashtra, the Bharatiya concept of Rashtra, could be considered a parallel to the Western term nation, but both are also different on several counts. The primary difference between the two stems from the fact that Rashtra is more of ethnic spiritual concept, while nation is a cultural concept. Many leaders like Sri Aurobindo, Gandhi, Pandit Nehru, B.J. Tilak, Tagorji, and Deendayal Upadhyay dwell into the idea of Indian nation and nationalism. Now, these ideas are either spiritual, metaphysical, or static. But here, we should also stop talk. If this is the mainstream idea of nationalism, there are other people who do not belong to this mainstream who are not considered mainstream. Everything, a view of a minority becomes an Indian view, a culture of a minority becomes an Indian culture, the language of a minority can become Indian language, whereas the culture of the non-mainstream would either remain a Dalit culture or a tribal culture or a minority culture. This was the scenario. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar's views are extremely important for this. Here we should explore Dr. Ambedkar's ideas and reflection of nationalism. Mr. Swadesh Singh in his article calls him the most celebrated Indian leader, thinker and social philosopher of 21st century who contributed in the 20th century, and large-scale celebrations of his birth anniversary are marked in the recent past. Observers felt that the celebrations were most widespread than those in the central year. One of the leading mainstream magazines termed him as the greatest leader of modernism. Now these two very important narratives. One is a direct of nation and nation building and freedom. One is the dominant caste narrative, another is from the below. When Ambedkar met Gandhiji, Mr. Mahatma Gandhi told Ambedkar that Ambedkar, why don't you devote your energy fully for the independence of the country? And Ambedkar said, I would like to, and we will be doing that, we are doing it, but then you will speak about Swatantrya, that's freedom, Swatantrya, what about Samata? That is also equally important, because we need to free the slaves from the dominant clutches, and therefore several parallel narratives could exist, but Ambedkar's narrative is very important. Another narrative, this is mainstream one, when Ambedkar gives another narrative, talks about freedom of India from social inequality and freedom of India from the untouchability. This could be understood as a narrative from the below for the upliftment of the downtrodden, deprived and marginalized sections of society. The section that did not have any participation in public life of colonial India, Dr. Ambedkar becomes their leader and he gives voice to those people. According to S.N. Gaikawad, he says that without Ambedkar's opposition to mainstream nationalism, the process of internal consolidation of the nation would not have been carried out sufficiently enough to strengthen and broaden the social base of Indian nationalism. Now, when I do this, in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to ask you certain questions. I know, around 4:35, how difficult it is to listen to such things. But even then, there is a very popular misunderstanding about who is Dalit. When I assess dissertations of my scholars, I mean the PhD scholars, I see them very routinely confusing these two terms, Shudra and Dalits. So as students, can you tell me who is Dalit? What do you understand by the term Dalit?
In Sanskrit, it refers to squeezing, not squeeze.
Yeah. That is the origin of the word Dalit, right? Squeezed, suppressed, or the oppressed. But in popular terms, when you use this term in society, who is a Dalit? And I know there is no communication possible because of the distance. I will give you a few options. Usually people think Dalits are untouchables. Then second question is, who is Shudra? Is Shudra different from Dalits? Or are they the same terms? Are they synonyms? There is a film called Shudra on reservation in Hindi. It's a Bollywood film. And when Shudras are spoken about, in the film, untouchables are shown. As if Shudras and untouchables are the same. In fact, Shudras are different from untouchables. And at least for those, if you think this becomes a little more relevant to them, I'd like to explain, take 2 moments and speak on this. Shudras are part of the 4 Varna: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Shudras are part of the Varna. And the Shudras are unpaid servants of the upper 3 Varnas. Untouchables are beyond Varnas. And therefore, Shudras become part of the Savarna because they are the Varna system. Untouchables are beyond the Varnas. Therefore, in Hindu cosmology, when they speak about the existence of the entire world and the universe, as if untouchables were not thought of. How did they come from? Because in the cosmic man Brahma, according to the theory in the Rig Veda, Brahmins came out of the mouth, Kshatriyas came out from the arms, Vaishyas from the, some people say stomach, some say thighs, and Shudras from the feet. Where did the untouchables come from? Who were these people? Untouchables were actually the people who did not belong to this Varna system at all. And therefore, people misunderstand the act of Dr. Ambedkar of burning Manusmriti. They think because Ambedkar was untouchable, he thought this scripture is against him, and there is people he burned it. In fact, Manusmriti has more to do with the Shudras and the women rather than the untouchable, because the punishment of untouchable was decided more by the village Pandit rather than the scriptures. It is for the women, and therefore in 1972, when the Dalit Panthers was formed in Bombay, they declared manifesto the next year, and in the manifesto they defined this term Dalit. Once again, to tell people that Dalits, because Sir rightly said, thank you Professor Kandu for this, that it means the suppressed, the oppressed, the exploited, the depressed ones, that include the Shudras, the untouchables, the tribals, and all the women of all the Varnas. And therefore, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, when he describes and he talks about this, he talks about Shudras and Ati-Shudras. There is nothing like fifth Varna. Fifth Varna does not have any sanctity in the scriptures of the Sanatana Dharma, of the Brahmin Dharma, or what we call Hinduism today. Women of Hindu Brahmin families in India are exploited, oppressed, and their oppression justified in the scriptures, then they are also the Shudras. Now, how many women would accept this and agree with this? Though it is very, very true, very difficult because these are not reached them. The liberation of women's movement, which they have got easily in India, women in India did not have to struggle to get their rights of voting. In Europe, women had to come on the roads to get the rights of franchise. In India, freedom fighters and social reformers have given them this right. Even women coming out in demand on the roads in demand for this thing. And therefore, why women are Shudras? Because women are not Brahmins. Some Dalit scholars feel and some anthropologists feel that according to the Hindu Dharma Shastras, women are not Brahmins. Because why? A Brahmin's mother is not a Brahmin. A Brahmin's wife is not a Brahmin. A Brahmin's daughter is not a Brahmin. His sister is not a Brahmin. Why? At present, the Upanayana ceremony is not possible for them. And a Brahmin becomes a Brahmin only by the Janeyu ceremony, the thread ceremony of the Upanayana ceremony. And women do not have the right. And therefore, women in the Brahmin family do not have the privilege which a Brahmin man possibly could have. So, what is she? She is only maintaining the supremacy. She is used to maintain supremacy and purity of the Brahmin male folks. And therefore, few years in the past, in the history, women did not have right to education. or all the rights which are not there for the Shudras, women in the Brahmin family also did not have these rights. And it is therefore, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule in Pune, when he writes his book Slavery, he writes about this, that women are also part of these Shudras. This is understood. This is one. This is very, very important. And then going by the invasion theory, why a Brahmin male did not give rights to his own women in the family? Certain poets, Dalit poets in Maharastra and also Dalit poets in Bengal, they have commented on this. Their commentary is that when a cosmic man gave birth to these men, Brahmins were born, Kshatriyas were born, Vaishyas were born, and Shudras were born. Were the women also born that time? No. Because the notion of Varna only talks about men who were born. Because women did not have the right to take arms even if they are women of the Kshatriya Varna. Brahmins are Brahmin, women did not, the women in the royal family did not have the right to perform certain rituals. And therefore, they were to be used and controlled to maintain purity. Why is marrying within a caste? Endogamy is a fundamental feature of caste. Why is Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya man controlling the woman? Because according to them, if a Brahmin woman marries outside the caste, the purity of the caste will be in danger. And therefore, if the purity is in danger, the supremacy would not be achieved. And there is no supremacy because caste gives them privileges. And therefore, the caste has to be made supreme, and therefore, controlling women becomes an important factor. And therefore, as per the feminist, Dalit feminism now, the problems of the female are not only within the man versus the woman, but it is the woman versus the system. The social system which has to be taken into consideration. And this is one. Second thing, there is another argument by some other scholars in the field, and I mentioned these two books about the Aryan invasion theory. I know Dr. Ambedkar rejects the Aryan invasion theory, but those who are part of the Varna system, they say no. Invasion is truth, and therefore Bal Gangadhar Tilak in Maharashtra is known as Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Tilak writes a book called The Arctic Poem in the Vedas, where he mentions that the Aryans' true home is beyond India, and they came from the Arctic region to India. This invasion theory is being supported. And the discovery of India by Pandit Nehru ji, he also supports this. Now, the point is, when invaders go to any part of the world, they do not carry women with them, or they carry very few women with them. Why? Because the biological processes, women become hindrance in the way of invasion. So when they invade and they defeat, the one who gets defeated, their women are used and utilized for propagating their version. And then the scholars argue that hypothetical, that is therefore that women would not have been given the rights of the previous because they thought she is not their own. If the theory is to be considered true, she is not their own, and therefore Michael Blanchard, the American anthropologist, came to University of Andhra University in Visakhapatnam, and they carried out research. In fact, genetics they found out that the genes of the Aryan-looking males are matching with Eurasian people, and the genes of the Brahmin women are matching with the more and more with Indian Asiatic women. That corroborates the very fact that Aryans must not have carried their women with them. This is one. And therefore, when women are part of Dalits right now, then we have to go by their version. Why did women not have rights? So, freedom for what? Freedom from whom? That is an extremely important question that one needs to understand. When the Dalit literature was emerging in Maharashtra, one of the important poets, Namdev Asad, you must have heard of him. When Dr. Ambedkar was arguing with Mahatma Gandhi, And when they read about this, they started writing poems that are we in urgent need of freedom or are we in urgent need of liberation from our own people? That was the question. And therefore, on 15th August 1947, we got independence. And we heard the extremely memorable speech of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. On the second day, there were a lot of people saying, what is independence? And in what way is it going to benefit us? That means the Indian freedom struggle movement for the liberation of the nation, a lot of people were not part of, and therefore there were two stakeholders in this. So Ambedkar says, Dr. Ambedkar says that how can people divide into several thousand castes can be a nation? Because if nation means feeling of oneness, and oneness among the people of a particular nation, if you don't feel one with many other of my own countrymen, then can that society be a nation? So whether India is a nation or India is a nation in making, the keynote speaker, Dr. Rajendran sir mentioned this, that India is, whether it is a nation or it is a nation in the making, this is the question. And therefore, the castes, Dr. Ambedkar calls them that the castes are anti-national. If you and me, we claim that we are real Indians and we are truly patriotics, then we really need to think about the question of caste. And unless we handle this question of caste very successfully, this will continue to create hindrances in the way of nation building. Ambedkar says the castes are international. In the first place, because they bring about separation in social life. They are anti-national also because they generate jealousy and antipathy between caste and another caste. Moreover, there is an utter lack of consciousness of kind. That is, I feel one with somebody, number one, and I want to take him or her along to ensure that we as a group develop. Ambedkar says, there is no Hindu consciousness of a kind. In every Hindu, the consciousness that exists is the consciousness of his caste. This is the reason why Hindus cannot be said to form a society or a nation, he said at that time. 95 years ago. Now, after so many years, are we being able to think about this? That is a very, very important question. And therefore, when Gandhiji was leading his movement, Gandhiji wanted to take people along. We know Gandhiji published two newspapers. One is called Harijan. Second one is called Young India. Now, Mahatma Gandhiji was titling his newspaper as Young India and also Harijan to claim that he is also the one who represents Dalits. But Ambedkar at the same time was interrogating his entire vision and was saying, he started newspapers like Janata, Bhutana. Now there were Nayaks in the ministry, in the upper caste social structure, there were Nayaks. But there was this Nayak who represented 85% of the population of this country, but this Nayak was a dumb dealer. Nayak means a dumb dealer. The Mudana, Vaishkrut Bharat, his nation, Gandhiji's nation was a great nation. Dr. Ambedkar's nation was an ostracized India, a Vaishkrut Bharat. And he wanted to make it Prabhupada Bharat and enlightened India. These things, these binaries have to be understood. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar said that he is of the opinion that believing that we are a nation, we are cherishing a great delusion. How can people divide into several thousand castes and be a nation? The sooner we realize that we are not as yet a nation in the social and psychological sense of the word, better for us. For then only that we shall realize the necessity of becoming a nation and seriously think of the ways and means of realizing the goal. That is very important. In Annihilation Caste, Dr. Ambedkar says a lot of things, nation and nationhood and whether caste can really help us to make a good nation. Phule also said something like this in Samagra Ramaya. And he actually blames the leaders of the society. And that time, the leaders of the society was the governing class. The governing class consisted of the Brahmins. And therefore, Mahatma Phule, because he did not use the kind of term that modern scholars use now, and therefore people think he was very crude. Even though he was crude, but he used the very term called Brahmin and Bhatta and Pandas. These were his terms, right? But he was actually referring to the domination and the strategies of the dominant caste in subjugating the masses, because that has to be understood. Now, Dr. Ambedkar explained, I'll take 7 more minutes. Dr. Ambedkar explained the meaning and the function of nationality, and his views of nationality are very, very important. He says that nationality is a social feeling. It's a feeling of corporate sentiment of oneness, which makes those who are charged with it feel that they are kin and kin. Now, if we are the people of Indian nationality, then do we really feel one with our fellow citizens? That is a very, very important question. Many times, if anything is done for the sake of Dalits become the sole enemies of the non-Dalits. As if Dalits are Pakistanis. I mean, why should Pakistanis be also hated? That's another thing. But Pakistan as a nation, if anybody who is involved into anti-national activities, or any other country which harms the interest of our nation would be our enemy. That is very certain, and we are no doubt about it. But Dalits are treated as if they are the enemies of this nation. That also has to be understood. It is therefore said that in India there is a nation within a nation and a home within a home. There are speakers and scholars who say that caste feeling is so strong among Indians that every caste almost has become. So the title, nation within the nation and homes within the home. Every caste is so strong that every caste is a nation, and it's the biggest hurdle in making of a strong nation. Dr. Ambedkar in his Annihilation of Caste writes that caste prevents the Indian casteist people from forming a real strong nation. The caste system prevents common activity, and by preventing common activity, it has prevented the Hindus or the Indians from becoming society with a unified life and consciousness of its own kind, its own being. So the conflict between the one caste group and with another caste group, it is also because there are two traditions which we need to understand. One tradition is a Shraman tradition, another tradition is a Brahmin tradition. One tradition is a Vedic tradition, second one is a Sanatana tradition. So the Shraman tradition is the tradition of the people, usually of the people who are termed as Shudras or Dalits or tribals. And the other tradition is the tradition of the dominant classes in India. And therefore, if we really have to, I wind up, sir, I'll skip a lot of things. If we really have to make our nation a very, very strong nation, then there are certain things that we need to think of. One, that we need to accept the very fact that there are real problems in we becoming a strong nation. Once you accept this, almost half the work is done. And therefore, second thing we need to do is we need to establish the rights of these three subjugated groups, namely the Dalits or the untouchables, the Muslims, and the Hindu women. Only then. These are not the only ways, but these are some of the ways which are suggested by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he worked for them throughout his life, along with a lot of other things. And therefore, while delivering his last speech in the Indian Constituent Assembly, he said that we should not get into the delusion that we are a nation, because there are two problems. And he says, and I quote him with this, I end. He said, they form a union of Trinity. These three principles, liberty, equality, fraternity, should be treated as unified ones and brought in the social life of India. They form a union of Trinity in a sense, and that to divorce one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy. Liberty cannot be divorced from equality, and equality cannot be divorced from liberty. nor can liberty and equality be divorced from fraternity. Without equality, liberty would produce the supremacy of few over the many, and equality without liberty would kill individual initiative. Without fraternity, liberty and equality could not become natural course of things. We must begin by acknowledging the fact that there is a complete absence of two things in Indian society. One of these is equality, which is absent. And on social plane, we have in India society based on the principle of related inequality, which means elevation of some and degradation of the other. On the economic plane, we have a society in which there are some who have immense wealth as against many who live in abject poverty. I think this message of America should be kept in mind to see to it that we become as a strong nation. So, thank you very much. I thank the organizers for inviting me. I don't know, given the problem this first time, I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Dr. Rajesh. It was a very informative and insightful session. Now his session is open for reflection. Any questions or comments or anything to be clarified? You are most welcome.
Ambedkar said that he took liberty, equality, fraternity not from French Revolution but from Buddha.
Yes. In fact,
We should not get confused
no,
with this.
exactly. I'm so thankful to sir for this. In fact, there has been a lot of attempts after the Ambedkar wrote Indian Constitution. There were several people who wanted to reject and go away from the acknowledging his efforts in doing this tremendous job, stating that, no, what he did, what is great in Ambedkar writing Constitution of India? Oh, he took something from France, something from Europe, something from America, he put it together and the Constitution was made. That is not so. Dr. Ambedkar, I mean, when I was in 4th standard, I studied political science. And my teacher, there was a book made by a university professor of Pune. That book included that these three principles were covered by Ambedkar from French Revolution. But it was never told to us that they were taken by Ambedkar from Indian philosophical sources, and that too from the Buddha. Okay. And therefore, Ambedkar has to be understood properly. People have never acknowledged that Ambedkar could do something with a lot of sincerity and with a lot of honesty. The death of Ambedkar was, I don't know, suddenly people have taken Ambedkar in a big way. I know, but the point remains. But there is a friend of mine who asked me, Dr. Rajesh, in Maharastra you are having these celebrations of Ambedkar in a big way. Suddenly now, when people actually spend a stone on the Ambedkar Jayanti processions in our villages, now suddenly the government is taking it like anything. Why is this? I told him, one should understand what makes the leaders at present to talk about Ambedkar is a question. Who compelled them and what compelled them to do this? You will get the answer. Thank you, sir.
I have an announcement. No, sir. No questions.
All right. If there are no further questions, let us conclude the session of invited folks. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh, for having honored our invitation and having come over here, and for being with us all these 3 days. Thank you so much.